Welcome, English 75B, to week 8, your overview of what's coming up for the next 7 days. Well, Lit Crits, we're about halfway through, so I'm going to give you a rundown on what you can expect coming up in this module and how we will proceed in the future. You're looking right here at the week 8 module. I'm in student view as opposed to my overlord godly view that I have in instructor view. So this should pretty much mirror what you're going to see on your page. If you're watching this video, you've clicked on this. Do this first, unless I messed up the link, in which case, somebody let me know. I have to put like another link in there until I actually record this and upload it, and it's usually Amazon. I don't know if that means you can see what I've been shopping for. Exciting stuff. Anyway, here's how it's going to look. If you'll notice here, we've got some information about a new literary movement called Imagism. A couple poets, William Carlos Williams and H.D. Hilda Doolittle. We'll also be talking about T.S. Eliot. That's for Saturday. We've got two big poems from him coming up. Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock, which a lot of people have already may have already read. It's more accessible. And the big, bad, bummer poem of the first third of the 20th century, The Wasteland. It's long. It's making huge amounts of literary and cultural allusions. When you read it, just go with the flow. If there's a part you don't understand, put a question mark in the margin and just keep rolling. There are a few sections that I'll want you to look at more specifically, and I've got some information coming up there, if you'll notice down here. Oh, I also have a version of Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock in comics form. Now, I'm pretty sure it's unabridged. I'll have to double check on that. I think it's better to read the poem before you look at the comics so you get your own internal image based off of the words. I'm kind of a purist that way. That's what I recommend for you. Now, one of the most important parts of The Wasteland will be what is sometimes referred to the Tiresias chapter, or it goes by another name like the Purple Hour. And it's basically about this meetup or hookup between a young clerk and a woman who both live in London, and they basically hook up, but it's really kind of devoid of tenderness, close emotion, mental or spiritual, emotional intimacy. It's a little bit depressing. But the whole poem is kind of about the breakdown of Western civilization during these years. In some ways, it's a huge freak out after World War One. A lot of things that people assumed were correct, they didn't necessarily assume or believe anymore, just because it was so truly horrific, especially if one was in Europe or in England at the time. And I've got more stuff there. You'll also notice that I have a video for how to track changes and add comments on Microsoft Word. So in other words, when you finally get your peer's rough draft as an attachment through Canvas Inbox, what you're going to do is download it to your computer, and you're going to go into review mode in Microsoft Word, so you can highlight, make changes, make comments in the margin, stuff like that. I mean, if we were doing this old school or live in class, I would tell you to bring in a printout of your essay, and what we would do is we'd get out, our 1,000 pack of gel pens that we have, and we'd pick like our favorite color, and then we would, do it right there on the draft. We can't quite as easily do it using that precise method while we're here online. So this is the next best thing. Here are some peer review instructions. I'll go over those as well. And finally, your week 8 discussion. So without further ado, I will go ahead and jump us right through to the peer review. I mean, everything in here, this, those are videos. Prufrock is a link to like the comic version of J. Alfred Prufrock. This is more background information video lecture, as is this. Okay, without further ado, let's go to the peer review. Oh, no, before we do peer review, I'm sorry, we're going to just kind of look at the breakdown day by day. So we'll be looking at Imagism and how we can find it in Williams and in HD. We'll also be talking about different kinds of modernisms that are present in the modernist manifestos. And these are tiny little pieces of text, some a few pages long at most, where these writers of what we call modernism, literary modernism, try to explain what modernism is. And these texts are going to vary wildly in terms of structure and content. Some are just going to look physically very strange and unusual. They're going to be using like a kind of cut and paste method known as pastiche. So some of them will be mimetic texts. They are going to be trying to imitate the principles of modernism as they see it in the structure and the content of their text. Others are going to feel like, here's a writer writing in a standard way about a certain literary movement. So lots of different ways, lots of different fingers pointing at the same moon, if I want to borrow from the Buddhist phrase. So that's that. We'll also be looking at T.S. Eliot, who was, kind of the high modernist poet in the English language. Now, looking at what's happening on Wednesday, you've got a set of poems to read from Williams, Spring and All. You've got background information. Make sure to read those bios. Spring and All, To Elsie, The Red Wheelbarrow, and This Is Just to Say. Now, if you're looking at Imagism, the poems to really focus on will be Spring and All, and especially The Red Wheelbarrow. It's very short, so you may have seen it before. You might have read it and thought, what the... This is famous? I could have done this. I could have done this in 4th grade. It's got simple language. But what is important about it is how the writer and how people involved in the Imagism movement can talk about this kind of writing. And what its significance is within the larger body of literature and the larger body of poetry, and poetry in English and American poetry. But this is the time where we start to see stuff in literature and art and think, wow, I could have done this. If you're familiar with Jackson Pollock's paintings, they're just like paint drips on a huge canvas. He just went around going smack, 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 smack. Worth millions of dollars now. He was considered one of the most important poets of the first half of the painters of the first half of the 20th century. And again, any of us could do those paintings. We could do one right now. But they were part of a movement, and people could talk about them, and Pollock could talk about them in the relationship to the canon of painting and art in general. So there's one analogy for you. If you want to take out, if you want a little bit more information, just Google Jackson Pollock painting and you'll get a real strong sense. Or, YouTube it. There's lots of YouTube videos that are actually filmed of him doing his thing. And, that brings us to another important point. I've already mentioned it before, but, technology and recording technology and media technology are accelerating at such a breakneck speed now that we're getting much closer to the day we have right now, or to the technology of the day right now. Okay, so that's for Wednesday. Coming up on Friday, that's the time that I want you to have your peer review completed and turned in. Now, remember, this Sunday, which will be the 26th, by Sunday, 11:59 p.m. on the 26th, please have your essay, your rough draft essay submitted in the submission point in week 7. That way, I see that you've got it. I will hook people. I will pair people up as tutors, as peer reviewers rather, and from that pair, you will begin to start to work on your own on the peer review. I was going to say one more important thing about that, and it's escaping me now. It'll probably happen when I get to the actual page. Coming up Saturday, you've got High Modernist Poetry of T.S. Eliot, Thomas Stearns Eliot, Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock. Only 6 pages. It's about loneliness, the loneliness of the modern world, the loneliness of the metropolis, the inability to act. And The Wasteland is about the drying up, the lack of fertility, the lack of connection, the lack of absolute truth, the lack of one unified religion or one unified God or belief system. Just a breakdown of everything in Western civilization. Now, you won't be writing on Eliot for this because we still need to have time to digest it. I would never make you read something on Saturday and then have to add already posted on it on that previous Wednesday. So this will be coming up for next week's discussion. Now, you're also going to post 2 replies based on discussion 8. Remember, you put your original comment coming up on Wednesday. Let's take a look at the peer review real quickly. Oh, and look, it's the same thing. Okay, that's all right. I can get us there. And here it is. So, by Monday, February 27th, I will pair you up. If you've got special requests, somebody you've worked with before, I'm totally fine with that. Just let me know. Give them a heads up. It's really important that you guys are on the same page. And so say, hey, have you worked with any? Are you working with anybody yet? I like what you say in discussion. Do you want to be peers? That takes the weirdness out of it, or most of the weirdness out of it. If not, I will just do it randomly as they come in. So the first thing you're going to do is list 3 specific concerns about your essay. If you're not sure what to put, look at these tasks below, because these are the things that I'm going to be looking at when I am grading your papers. And I'm trying to make like a very continual thread from the prompt through the peer review to the actual rough draft submission and the grading. So take a look at these. I mean, some people want to put grammar down. Be more specific than just saying grammar. What you need to say is something like, I know I still have problems with run-ons. I know my comma use is wacky. In general, I think grammar is not the hugest issue in literary analysis essays overall. Making sure you're hitting the point is more important first. So you're going to email through Canvas inbox to me and to your peer your concerns and attach a copy of your essay rough draft. And if you don't have their email address, well, you won't need it because you can use it right through Canvas. I should probably make a little video to show you how to do that. Finally, you're going to submit your rough draft to me through Module 7. Now for you, when you get that information and you get that draft from your peer, this is how it goes. You're going to read the paper once from beginning to end. No marking, no notes. You're taking in the large structure first. That's why I say this. Okay. It's so easy when we go into peer review to go right into grammar mode. We get out the pen, we're like, oh, there's a misspelling.